Hi everyone, you're watching the Haider Rifaat show and I'm your host Haider Rifaat. In today's exclusive episode, I have with me Marvi Sirmed. She's a journalist, a political commentator, as well as a human rights activist. Thank you so much, Marvi, for taking out time for this interview.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Of course. Now, Marvi, Women's Day was held in Pakistan recently and was observed as the more broader term of International Women's Day. So last year, around this time, you garnered a lot of media attention with regard to your on-air live spat with drama writer Khalilur Rahman. So back when you revisit that moment, what really went through your mind?
What really? Sorry?
What really went through your mind?
I was actually, I was on phone and all of the other panelists were in the studio back home and in Pakistan. I'm here and there was distortion in line as well. The voice was delayed. So it took me a while to understand, to actually, get the hang of it. I couldn't, when he was abusing, so people who were watching live, my family members in Pakistan, they were actually messaging me on WhatsApp, he's abusing you, why are you not saying anything? So I was like taken aback, what has happened, what did I say? And then I understood that he's probably just, I don't know what went wrong with him. He just went on, and then I had to give him a shut up call.
Mhm. Now, Marvi, when we have, because this happens in Pakistani media a lot, that we have live on-air fights, whether it's on call, whether it's in person. So don't you think that when we are having these very important discussions, especially surrounding women's rights, on-air spats like these, really lead to the lost in the kind of messaging that is being conveyed with regard to these women's rights issues? Don't you think that's a problem?
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do, and I think that is why it happens. I have that was not the first time I was attacked and abused on live television. That it has happened a lot in the past because I think it's shocking for Pakistani men to hear a woman loud. I mean, my own family members often say that I should actually sound like a in a very down to earth manner. I should not raise my voice. I should not be firm enough. People do not like women in that in that tone, and that is why everyone goes against you. Um, and I just can't control it. I am what I am. But I think in another incident when a politician physically assaulted me while being in the studio during a TV talk show, he probably believed that he expected that when he raised his voice, I would start crying. And he said that after this episode, he said that to a couple of people that I thought she would cry, but ye baby to bahut, I mean, in so he did not expect me to actually respond to him in equally louder tone, and that actually, I think, that had him, and that happens a lot. So I think it is important for Pakistani men and women to try to listen also. You see, I never started a spat with anyone. I do not do it. But I cannot stay silent when someone attacks me. I will not. I'm not a Gandhi. I will not offer you my second cheek.
Right. Now, Marvi, when we talk about the Aurat March in Pakistan, what do you think is the due significance of this march, especially in the context of Pakistan, where there is so much women's rights? Issues are also very much misunderstood.
Yeah, I think that is why, if because the issues of women, that women are facing and experiencing and living through them, if they are being understood in a misunderstood in a society, I think that events like Aurat March are doubly important in that context. Plus, Aurat March is also important for feminist movement in Pakistan. Feminist movement did not start with Aurat March, as you know. Pakistan's women's movement took the turn of feminism back in 1980s during the Ziaul Haq's time. And after that, we have had some brilliant feminist leaders in Pakistan. But this moment, when Aurat March started in 2017-18, it is very important. Because Pakistan's feminism took a huge shift. Before that, we were trying to engage the state. We were focused on the state, how state responds to violence against women, for example, how state violates our rights, women's rights, and how to correct that dilemma. But with Aurat March, women's movement, feminist movement started speaking to the society. Now, women, it's not that we put the state aside. We are talking to the state as well. If you look at the charter of demands of the Aurat March since 2018, you will see that the demands are not only from the society, they are from the state. Major demands are from the state. So while engaging with the state, we are now talking to the society. Hey, we are here. And we are going to be here for a long time. So better accept us as we are.
Right. Now, Marvi, one of the core tenets of women's rights is the right to reproductive freedom. We have the other side of the aisle that also argues that committing or carrying out abortions is murder, with the exception of incest and rape. So as a woman yourself, do you feel that carrying out abortions is murder, with the exception of rape and incest involved?
Well, to be frank, this particular debate about abortions is not very, is not a central point in Pakistani feminism. That's quite a Western issue, as we may say. But on the other hand, if you look at, for example, there is a population councils, there's a New York-based non-profit international organization, World Population Council. One of its reports about the abortions throughout the world, it suggests that, and actually gives numbers also, that Pakistan is among the highest, among the countries that have highest rates of abortions. But most of these abortions are from the illegal, unregistered clinics, and they pose a threat to women's health. So our issue is more of women's health than the philosophical and conceptual debate of whether or not abortions are a right approach. Plus, as you have yourself said, that with the exception of incest and rape, so if abortion is good for those cases, why it is murder for other cases? Another point is that women in Pakistan, because the contraceptives and contraceptions are not, neither available, and there is very little awareness about them in Pakistan, because Pakistan is a very big country. Mashallah, it has over 70% of its population is rural population, and the services, including health services and facilities, are very few and far between in the rural areas. So these women do not have any concept or access to contraceptions. So most women in Pakistan take abortions as a way of family planning. So I think the state really needs to raise the standards of family planning, because there used to be a huge family planning program in Pakistan under the federal government. It is still there, but you don't see it working with that rigorousness. as we saw during the 1970s and early 1980s. After that, it just went down the drain. So we really need to provide our women um, safe pregnancies and safe and then health services during, before, and after the pregnancies. With that perspective, I think on case to case basis, this right should be given to women to decide if they want an abortion or not. Uh, and it should be a matter of choice. Important thing is that in Pakistan, abortions are also performed for female infanticide, female feticide. Uh, when they know during the pregnancy the sex of the fetus is determined. If it is female, they just abort, and that is in most cases not a woman's choice, that is the family's choice.
True.
So I think that with that perspective also we need to look at it with our own nuances rather than following the debate in the tone that is being held in the West.
Okay, so Marvi, in a country like Pakistan, I have personally seen that we have two polar opposite sides. One is a side that has radical feminists, and one side of the aisle has woman haters. We don't have that middle ground where people who support or advocate women's rights, or also advocate children's rights, or also advocate men's rights, their voices are oftentimes lost in between. So how can we achieve equality for both of these genders, women, men, including also transgenders, when we have these polar opposite sides that are constantly battling with each other without coming to actual resolve?
Well, I don't see any polar opposites. I mean, what do you mean by a radical feminist? I don't understand that term. What do we mean by radical feminist?
Feminism is basically when you obviously advocate for all, equality for all, right? Radical feminism is basically when we have women who go to extreme and blame every single thing, every social inequality on men. We have had examples where there was a radical feminist in the United States who basically wrote a book, Scum, specifically targeting men. So we have, although the percentage is very low, but we have this.
So that was in USA. That was so in Pakistan. Can you name a radical feminist who advocates the scum kind of a? I don't see any. You see, that is where the problem is. Whenever a woman talks about gender equality, it is considered a radical. It's radical enough for Pakistani society to talk about the gender equality. And let me tell you one thing. When we say gender equality, we are actually talking about men's rights also. Gender equality actually does not takes away from men. It actually gives everyone something. And everyone means men, women, trans, undetermined, whatever. Across the diversity of sexes. The problem also is that we have stopped differentiating between sex and gender. Sex is biological, what God has given you and me. You can grow a beard, I can't. That's biological. And I will not fight with it. I cannot fight with it. I would not like to fight with it. So we are not fighting with biology. What gender is the socio-cultural construct that directs and influences the behavior of all of us. You are a man, you should do this, this, this. You are a woman, you should do this, this, and this. Well, that is all human made. That has nothing to do with God's will or the nature or biological. It's not biological that you can fly a plane but I cannot. That's not biological. That's social, cultural, and economical construct. So I think if you look at gender with that perspective, you would see that gender equality does not only mean giving everything to women that men have and snatching from men. I think that would mean that equality of access, equal access to resources, equal access to power, equality in responsibilities and equality in all rights, all the rights that men enjoy. So rights, opportunities, and responsibilities. Now, when you look at all these three things, where are who is the loser? No one. Because look at men, how in our, especially in our patriarchal society, men are burdened with everything that has to do with production of wealth or subsistence. Don't you think it's high time that in this age and time, men and women, if they are, as the adage goes in our in Urdu language, that men and women are, what do you say? एक गाड़ी के दो पहिए हैं. There are two wheels of the vehicle. So they should be the wheels of the same vehicle, right? A man cannot be the wheel of a truck and a woman be a wheel of a bicycle. The gari will not go. So they should be exactly equal in order to uh, lead the life along with prosperity and with balance and with the natural ability. I think that will not take away from men. That actually will give. That will actually lower the burden. Third point, when you say that uh, you know radical feminists put everything, every problem on men. No, I don't see any radical feminist in Pakistan. If you see, kindly give me a hint. Who is it, and what do they say? But the feminists in Pakistan, they only say that everything, every problem, every single problem that women and men in our society face, it is because of patriarchy, the patriarchal system that puts one sex in a continual subordinate position and the other gender in a apparently powerful position, but that position brings a lot of unwanted, unnecessary responsibility of a lot of unnecessary things on men, and that is an added burden. So the patriarchy is bad for men and women. So let's fight it together, and that is why many men are part of feminist movement in Pakistan. I'm so proud to say that my husband is a bigger feminist than myself. And so is the case with his brothers and my late father-in-law, so many other men, wonderful men in Pakistan.
Now, Marvi, in light of the Me Too movement, we have seen that a college lecturer committed suicide because he was falsely accused of sexual harassment. Now, do you feel that women who falsely accuse men, and this is a general, in general sense I'm talking, not specifically in the context of Pakistan, although a very small percentage, should be held accountable as well? And do you feel that false accusations like these are damaging to the Me Too movement?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm very sorry for the gentleman who committed suicide. But whenever someone commits suicide, unless we can't know why it happened, because it might have happened because of the sense of guilt. It might have happened because of the fear of the consequences, or a number of reasons.
Guilt of what?
Sorry?
Guilt of what?
Guilt of whatever action they might have committed, guilt of whatever they have been accused of. Mm-hmm. So there can be a number of reasons. I'm not specifically talking about this person who committed suicide, but we should not jump to conclusion just because someone commits suicide. One, and two is that, of course, making false accusations is bad. It's very, very bad. There are men staring at us, and when we interrupt them and they just completely refuse to acknowledge that they were ever staring. We are walking on the street, what do you call it, eaves teasing or what? They just pass vulgar remarks, and if a woman stops and tries to challenge him on that, they just completely refused. Oh, I didn't say this to you. I said this to you. I said this to him. I said this to, I was not even talking to you. So they plainly refuse what they were doing that very minute, which means that sexual harassment is a different crime from, different from other, penal code, cognizable offenses. That means the standard of evidence and the method of investigation need to be different for this crime, and that has to be evolved by the state institutions, by the judiciary, by the executive, by the law enforcement mechanism. With our help, we are ready to help you in doing that. But kindly do not dismiss women. The system actually who speak out against sexual harassment. Every case, every single case, if it is high profile, it is it is just rendered false. The woman is accused of having leveling false allegation without thinking, without any investigation, without second thought. You have seen it in Misha Shafi case. That's just one case. We have seen it in Gulalai's case, Aisha Gulalai's case. So it's not about just men. It's about the women who have accepted the patriarchal, rule, and also find comfort in patriarchy. So I think the victims of sexual harassment need to be viewed with a little sympathy from the society. And the moment a woman stands up, we need to hear her out. We need to hear her with sympathy, with sensitivity, and then let the courts decide. Let the judicial system be strong enough and creative enough and responsive enough to decide whether the accusation was false or not. Instead of men who are being accused, like that guy, this man, Ali Zafar, he is using media. He's friends with everyone. He's very powerful. He's friends with military establishment. He's friends with FIA. He's friends with influential people in politics and society. And he's just launching a very aggressive, social attack and on Misha Shafi, calling her all kinds of names, and then using legal system as well. The moment a woman stands up, the next action is defamation suit. So who wants to be dragged into courts like this? So most of women remain silent. We need to think about that also.
Speaking of activism on social media, how do you think the social media is really helping women's rights issues in Pakistan?
I think it's a double-edged sword. It is helping a lot because, look at Aurat March, how Aurat March, when feminist movement started using social media, our generation and the previous generation, we did not have social media. And without that, we had to, our Women Action Forum, Sindhyani Tehreek, they had to travel village to village and, in many remote places, there's a mobility problem for women. So it was having a physical contact with everyone was very difficult. We did that with our limited resources, but we could not reach as many people as Aurat March has reached. And that is the single most encouraging thing about it. But it is, why I call it double-edged sword is because it is being used to humiliate women, to reject and dismiss feminism, and to discredit feminist movement. And not only feminist movement, all kinds of human rights movements in Pakistan, because we think that I personally believe in intersectional feminism, intersectional gender equality. Gender is not my only identity. There are multiple identities, yours too. So the multiple identities, they work together to either subjugate you or to give you power. So I think there are more than one realities than just my sex, and that is why we are sensitive to injustice wherever it is being done, whether it is with for the farmers or the laborers, or with trade unions, or with students, or with ethnic minorities, or with religious minorities, or whatever. So you would see in Aurat March, all of these forces converged. There was delegation, a big delegation from trade unions. There was a delegation from the farmers and labor women, professional women. So I think it's pretty intersectional and it's pretty diverse. And a lot of movements converge together in order to make the point.
Now, very lastly, to unplug from the serious issues, please let the viewers know what you're up to these days and what you're doing right now.
Oh, I'm right now I'm working as a research scholar with the University of Connecticut, and I came here as a fellow, and then my fellowship extended, and I actually extended it on the hope that I will. When I came here, I did not know that I will write a book. I was just doing a simple fellowship. But during the course of that fellowship, I realized that there's so much that needs to be said. So I started working on this book project, and meanwhile, with the University of Connecticut allowed me to use their resources for the research, but also teach a few classes. So I'm working on my book and being the scholar here.
Good for you. Thank you so much, Marvi, for joining me. It was a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Of course. That is all for now. Stay tuned for more on my official YouTube channel and Facebook page. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.